The UK electric vehicle charger rollout risks regional divide, according to a report. I'm going to read into this more from The Guardian, you guys. Let's go. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. This is Reganelite here with an article from The Guardian with the headline that the UK's electric vehicle charger rollout risks a regional divide, a report warns. The National Audit Office said the government is on track to install 300,000 charge points by 2030, but areas outside the southeast risk missing out. Guys, while you're here, make sure you hit the like button and share it across social media so others are notified of this video. So what good is an electric car if you cannot take it to most places around England, shall we say, for example? And you could argue that, well, there should be enough of them, shouldn't there be, Regan? There should be enough charger points around. And you could make that argument that there are still some parts of the country where there's just not enough chargers. Now, I know that there is some truth to this because I know very close relatives of mine who own an electric car, and they drove from like the north and Midlands of England, and drove all the way down to the south coast, using their electric car, and they use their apps and whatnot to basically track, and because there are apps out there that basically tell you where there's a charging point and whatnot. And this was, I think it was just 2 years ago, actually, this story. And they managed to go, obviously the car was charged, so they managed to go straight from A to B. But when you go back, you need to charge the car somewhere at some point along the way. Or if you're down at the coast, to charge it, right? So for whatever reason, they couldn't charge it down on the coast or whatnot, so they had to stop midway going back when they travel back. And it almost got to a point where the car basically almost ran out of juice, because even though they said there were chargers at A, B, and C or whatever on the map, they weren't actually available. They weren't like the app, either the app was lying or they were out of service. So, which was extremely frustrating. Now, for me, this is a big problem. Now, I've always said that while we still have petrol cars, we will still have petrol cars for quite a good while. I just don't see why we can't have them guaranteed at every single petrol station. At least, a key point where they're always guaranteed in a certain thing. I think something like that should be considered, or at least a guarantee in pretty much in majority of car parks. We need to have assurances that there's not just going to be one or two lurking around, that there's actually going to be two or three, especially in big car parks, like a big supermarket car park should have some, and the people who are able to park their car there for free, they should be able to charge their car as well. And obviously, depending on the kind of charge, obviously you get charged for it as well. But in coming back to this headline, it's really important that while, of course, like the government can brag about installing all these chargers all they want, but it's no good if there's not enough of them outside of London, because of course we know there's going to be plenty in London. Like everyone knows that London's going to be priority. We know that cities and big towns are going to be prioritized when it comes to these. It's the rural areas that are the ones that are not going to get this. And again, if you want to encourage more people to transition out of their petrol, their diesel, or whatever car it is, into electric or hybrid at least, then you need to give people the option. You need to give people the options to be able to charge it. So I really do think that matters. So this is still an issue that still needs to be dealt with. That is for sure. And we are behind when it comes to other nations. Obviously, China are leading the way on this. America are... I'm not sure where America's going with electric cars, but at the moment with its incoming president. But we're certainly nowhere near in terms of leading in any of this, that's for sure. So, plans to roll out 300,000 electric vehicle charge points across the UK by 2030 risk creating a regional divide between the well-connected areas in London and the South East and the rest of the country, according to a spending watchdog. The National Audit Office found that the government was on track to meet its goal for 300,000 charge points to be fitted by 2030, but large swathes of the country were missing out. It warned that London has more charge points installed per capita than any other region in the UK. Overall, 44% of all public charging points have been installed in London and the South East, while 15% of charging points in England are in rural areas, according to the NAO. So here, this is a rollout. So this is from the report from Field Dynamics. This is a rollout of public charging networks that have been uneven across Britain. And it is shares of household without off-screen parking with a public charger within 5-minute walks here. So in terms of a percentage there, so you can, it's clearly shown here. This is obviously you've seen London there. On the deeper central London, it's pretty much, there's pretty much loads everywhere is what they're saying within 5 minutes from their description there. But you can see, if you look at obviously the map there, in comparison to a lot of other places. So there are some really, really light spots in outside of London, in southeast there is and in other parts. There are some which are not too shaded. But yeah, it's the ones that are really grey is where there needs to be done to improve those areas. If there, you can see there, Having 14.8. Saffron 3.2, North East Derbyshire 1.3, Brentwood 3.6, Reddish 3.2, and Neath Port Talbot in 3.4 there. So it's very much problematic. That needs to be done there. But you can see, like in England in particular, obviously needs to clear this up. Whereas if you look at Scotland, for example, well, you know, there's this very much a lot higher in the majority parts of the country. They have there, for example, Wales, apart from one region where they have one region there they have where it's problematic. The majority of the country is pretty decent in terms of but yeah, there's a lot of parts of England that still have this issue. So Gareth Davies, head of the NAO, said the government's 2030 goal appears achievable, but there is more to do to ensure inadequate coverage in all parts of the country. The watchdog said that a government programme to set up to support local authorities rolled out charge points with £450 million of funding was expected to install 100,000 chargers, but faced delays because local authority plans were taking longer to develop than the government expected. In addition, the rollout had been hindered because it is slower and more expensive than it needs to be for charger point operators to get planning permission and electric grid connections, the NAO has said. The NAO said the UK should do more to prioritise the rollout of public charge points, particularly in sufficient numbers at key locations along long-distance journeys to give drivers confidence to switch to EVs. This may not be happening at pace and in the locations needed without government intervention, the NAO had warned. And it's another one here. So Scotland has the best public charger network outside London. It shares of household without off-street parking with a public charger within 5 minutes walks. So this is very good. So this obviously incentivises Scottish people. With having the best charger network, this will incentivise more people to switch from petrol to electric here. You can see here, again, this is from Field Dynamics, they're reporting here. And you can see London excessively high with as opposed to everyone else there. But yeah, in terms of the lower numbers like South East, South West, North West, East Midlands, Yorkshire, Humber, East of England and West Midlands, much lower. But you can see there Scotland, obviously, and their positions like Aberdeen, North East, Scotland South, Highlands and Islands, Edinburgh and Loughton's, much higher numbers there. Joffrey Clifton Brown, the chair of the House of Commons Public Accounts Committee, said issues with planning permission and electric grid connections were acting as roadblocks to further progress. If the government is serious about encouraging the take-up of electric vehicles, it must ensure the public can reach reliable, convenient and accessing charging points, he said. The government has been approached for comment. So it looks like, yeah, there's been issues with planning permissions and electric grid connections. That needs to be dealt with ASAP. The government needs to make sure that that's not a stumbling block. If they seriously want to drive towards more green energy, which I believe everybody wants to go down that path towards, then we obviously need to ensure that everywhere in the regions has electric car points. It's really it should not be an issue. We need to make it easier as much as we possibly can for people there to be able to charge their cars. Like, it's pretty pretty self-explanatory. But yeah, good on Scotland, obviously there. And like I said, we saw in the report there, Wales is looking pretty solid. Majority of Wales is looking pretty okay as well. But there are obviously different parts of England where they're not getting little to no charger points there, which is obviously something that needs to be addressed. That is for sure. But what do you guys honestly think about electric vehicles and the charger rollouts for them? What do you guys think about the distribution of them? Have you seen any in your areas, perhaps, maybe that you've noticed, or maybe there's not enough of them? Do you agree that London gets favourability? Let me know your thoughts and more on all this down in the comments section below. If you found this video informative, please hit the like button. Greatly appreciated. Share it across social media so others are notified of this video. If you haven't subscribed already, please consider subscribing because it really does help support the channel. If you want to go one step further and financially support me and the work that I do here, you can do so by becoming a YouTube member for as little as 99p, or join me on Rumble or Patreon for exclusive content on those platforms. So thank you all so much for watching, and I hope to catch you all very, very soon.